Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music. The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021. Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking. Me too. Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No. 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment. Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson, like really loves.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head and Shoulder Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head and Shoulder Scalp Shield, never not working.
Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music. The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character.
All right, welcome to another live edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford here, AD Drew down there in the bottom, and joining us is a good friend of the network, good friend of ours and yours. It's Dr. Kenyatta Cavil of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Drew, Doc, hello, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Doing fine. Just happy to see you back here on the Sports Wrap, back in the captain's chair, my brother.
How you doing,
Yeah,
Doc?
it's good to be here. I'm good. It's good to be here. Certainly good to see you. And again, this is go out to you and your family.
Thank you. It's good to be back, and definitely thank you to thank you to everybody on the network and the shows last week. You guys, Drew filling in for me on Wednesday night with the OMG, and you know, I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers, and just feel appreciative of those thoughts and prayers. I'll share a little more towards the end of the show, but it's good to kind of have sports and sort of as that what do you call it, that distraction. And I think in terms of HBCU sports, we had plenty to talk about this weekend. I you know, this might have been, not since the spring have we really had a weekend. And I say the spring, I guess I should clarify, the spring of 2021, where we had a
lost track of years.
I did, because it was very unusual what we had in the spring, but we had a busy weekend. You know, we had football, we had basketball, we had baseball, softball, all kinds of good stuff, man. And some good action, and I think it's a great way to get us ready for March Madness. That's my favorite month of the year. So I want to thank everybody for coming on to the Sports Wrap today. Just a reminder, make sure to check us out. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for watching us there. MyJBN1. Go ahead and make sure to hit that thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to that channel. And also, if you're watching us on Facebook, hit the like button. Go ahead and make sure to share the show with some friends. And please make sure you're following us on all social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MyBCSN1, the number 1. And you'll also find us on the Jericho Broadcast Networks app. Just go to your Google or Apple Play Store and search, download MyJBN, MyBCSN, is where you can find it. Drew, I see you now. You know, you come in there with that extra vision there. I can see you now. Yeah.
I realized I didn't turn my lights on before we went on camera, so I was supposed to sneak that in. You weren't supposed to call me out like that, man.
I'm sorry. It just got real bright all of a sudden over there. Sorry about that. See, it's all love.
That's my personality showing out. That's a bright personality. After dark skinned brother.
We got a busy show today. Lots to talk about. As Drew said, we got about 3 hours worth of content that we're going to try to squeeze into a 2-hour show. Trust me, our producer said you better make sure it's 2 hours because he's not sticking around for 3 hours. So that's what it is. And we've got Doc joining us a little bit later. We're going to have Jamie Walker joining us in the second hour. But we brought in Doc because, Doc, from a visual standpoint, we wanted to, talk about a little bit of the optics of what this weekend meant to HBCU sports. It was big. So I guess I'll start. And we'll start with my first question, Doc, of all the events and all the things that happened this weekend, what was the one thing that caught your eye or that was the most appealing thing for you this weekend?
First, let me say shout out to Edwin Moore as he says the doc is out of the lab. Yes, I'm with the two brothers on the sports wrap. I'm going to wrap it up a little bit. What really caught my eye is when I was literally sitting in my chair in my living room after running around a little bit and taking care of some early business. And I get to flipping the channel and I realize all these events on. And I flip and I do like NBA TV. And I see the basketball game, Morgan State and Howard. And it's later in the game. It's a very good game in terms of the entertainment value being close, plays being made back and forth. And I said, I look back and I go to my iPad and I'm like, okay, I can put this because it's on ESPN and TNT, NBA TV together. So, okay, I can put that over there. So I put it on the iPad, get it set up and real nice. My son's running around there and he's yelling, hey, that's HBCU basketball. And he's trying to name out the teams, which is hilarious. And I'm like, all right, go away. I need my time. I'm finna get into it. So then I do my voice, modern, so it's so nice. And I go, NFL Network, boom, Legacy Bowl comes up. And it's starting out and they're making their moves and a couple of plays here. And I say, are we on the baseball games? And I get a couple of scrolls and I see some text. Go back, hit the remote again, Major League Baseball Network. I be doggone, here comes the game, Jack State's up, and it's a good one. So I'm like flipping back and forth, prime time, major networks, Direct TV. I had a chance where you had all of them up on where you're looking at all the other sports around. I was like, this is nice. Who would have ever thought we had got to a point where you would have seen all three sports in terms of HBCU component on the network? Not only on the network, but they were specialized in center stage on the independent networks of each major league, each franchise conference, if you would, that was out there. So I don't think we ever seen anything like this. Obviously, we've never seen this because frankly new over the last 20 years. But anything even close, the opening season for baseball kicking off, and it's on the network with the Andre Dawson Classics, with some in terms of FAMU, Southern, Grambling, Jackson State, Alabama State in terms of what they've done lately. And then obviously you have Prairie View involved in it. It was amazing to see that out there. And then again, you get MEAC Division I basketball, Howard and Morgan State having their thing and representing themselves, winning the close game. And then, oh, by the way, let's just all the HBCUs in a pot for the Legacy Bowl. It got me. I literally went to some of the websites and ordered me some stuff so I can wear it as apparel.
We got you there. Thought I might have lost you there for a second. Drew, what about you? What was something that caught your eye this weekend?
Not enough time is what caught my eye. Because kind of like Doc said, for about an hour there, you had HBCU on 5 different platforms: ESPN, ABC, TNT, MLB Network, and NFL Network, where everything overlapped for about an hour. And because of other obligations, I was unable to enjoy it because I was busy calling the Stephen William Carey game, doing the play-by-play. And I'm pretty sure there were other people who were in that similar situation because of their fandom, with this being the last weekend of the CIAA, coming down to the end of the SIAC, going down the home stretch in the SWAC and the MEAC, along with the GCAC, the Red River, and the Southern States conferences beginning to wind down. And there were probably people in their fandom following their team, knowing that all of this content was out there. And hopefully they will subscribe to the proper streaming service or DVR it or whatever they need to do to go back and to record this. Then when I get back to the hotel, to actually see these highlights of these events on the Four Letters Network sports show, that even adds even more credence, because if you're on network TV and you're on prime time, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be on the highlight show. So that also takes it to another level. And our story was ahead of some of the other major events that went on in the sports world this weekend.
Yeah,
Bryan, I wanted to chime back in there with that because I thought it was interesting, and I'm trying to figure out what could have created. I noticed they had obviously the HBCU Legacy Bowl, if you would, and it opened night on the LA, as I stay up late, as they were talking the NBA All-Star game, and they featured the basketball game. But they baseball HBCU games on. Is that, a point of contention in terms of the collaborating in terms of that area? They always can have that information. Or is this another indication of just Major League Baseball has went down the line in regards to between the NFL and the HBCU Legacy Bowl? It was showcased. It's for a segment. They went right into the NBA and its partnership in their segment, but they did not have the Major League Baseball. Because I had caught all three, so I was focused. So I said 3 of highlights here, and to my surprise, they spent off. And I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what this really means."
Well, also let's keep in mind, college baseball itself is not a sport that gets a whole lot of highlights on a lot of different networks. So I think, and I understand where you come from, but I think that's just a byproduct of college baseball in general, as more of the general population follows college football, obviously followed by college basketball, number 2. College baseball is down there as far as sports. NASCAR and everything else gets more coverage than college baseball in general.
Softball's getting more coverage and highlights than baseball.
Right. And then when you break it down to the HBCU portion of it.
But I was intrigued about that because point thought about, this is just baseball in general falling off the cliff. But the fact that they had, like you said, plenty of softball highlights, highlights wherever they could get, and they also had some baseball highlights. And so they took highlights from where they get their hands. Something to me is just bigger than that. Than maybe we're hands on. If I can get to some of my ESPN, some additional insight, but that was. I don't want to beat the dead horse, but that was strange.
and one other thing, shout out to Howard for taking a crucial home game late in the BX season and playing it in a neutral site in Cleveland, because this was Howard's home game that they had to play in Cleveland. And the way the BX standings are looking, that's gonna determine those seeds in those top 4 seeds, with Howard being the winner of that game. So, Howard did not have to do that. And you have to think real hard between that check and maintaining the integrity of your basketball season in your conference by moving that home game to Cleveland, Ohio, where you may or may not have people rooting for you.
I will say this though, if anybody gets understands the significance of the moment, it's Howard. Remember, this is Howard who had the game scheduled with Notre Dame on Fox. So, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that was guaranteed to be a makeup game for this year. It just so happened that it turned out to be, probably in part because of the relationship between the coaches. So that was probably an added bonus that came in. I don't think that was originally scheduled or when the schedule's early in the fall, back in September. It was one of those things that came out at the beginning of the season where it was like, oh, hey, we're going to play this game against Notre Dame because we missed out on it. I guess it worked out once they had the ACC scheduling and everything, and Notre Dame said, yeah, we're going to make it happen, and it was added into the schedule. So Howard picked up a home game, so I could see Howard coming back and saying, sure, we'll give up this game. We understand how important it could be for the Howard brand and for Howard basketball to go to Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and they had a good. What I was really impressed about when I saw that, and I got to say, Doc, you were talking about the joy of being able to watch it with your son. I mean, I was on that same end, just on the other side, being able to sit there and tell my dad that, hey, Dad, there's an HBCU basketball game on ESPN and TNT. He was like, oh, really? The look. And so we watched it. We watching it on a 71-inch TV, in HD, and we watching some pretty decent basketball. And so, I mean, he stayed awake for it. So, I mean, that was telling. So, I mean, look, sometimes after lunch you get those afternoon Saturday naps in. You know what I'm talking about, right? So, look, the fact that exactly. So the fact that he was awake for it and was watching it, and then we transitioned over to the Legacy Bowl. I mean, that was pretty cool, man, to be able to watch that with my dad. And so I know a lot of folks hopefully had a chance to watch a couple of different games but again, I love the production level. They had a great crowd in Cleveland. I had my head scratching. I was like, man, they got a great crowd up there in Cleveland. The more, you had good audio from the Morgan and Howard cheerleaders, and just everything about that game, the energy level, good commentating, in between they had there was Stephen A, Isaiah Thomas, and I forgot the other lady, the lady who was sort of co-hosting the halftime segment. It was well put together, man. And Doc, I didn't even think about the fact that you just brought up all 3 of those events were on the professional leagues network channels. It wasn't, yes, I know they did the simulcast with ESPN and all, but the fact that it was NBA TV, MLB TV, NFL Network, they were the ones that spearheaded and sort of seeing the value in broadcasting these events was major, and I thought that was telling. I looked past that initially until you brought that point up. We don't have
Thank
any
you.
number. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I do want to jump in there before you chime in numbers and ratings like that. I wanted to say, let me count the ways. I love to talk about the business side of this. The financial for this event were not too bad. NBA and Mountain Dew selections each to receive $50,000 scholarships. That's all a total. 11 HBCU students were selected to participate in an NBA All-Star event shadowing program. NBA Foundation each awarded $250,000 grant. Good Marshall College Fund and the United Negro College Fund, $1 million total. NBA and AT&T each donated $100 to Howard Athletics and to Morgan Athletics. That's $2,000. So you're up to $1.3 million. So a little easier to say, yeah, we'll way to find ourselves in Cleveland versus having this game at home. But both of your points of that you even considered is huge, and the fact they understand the relationship of Notre Dame. So Howard is finding a way to get it done and finding a way to do it. So was the MEAC and the SWAC for that matter. So that was significant when you got $1.3 million. So the prices just went up.
Yeah. You've heard me, those of you who've heard me, and I know Drew's heard me talk about the concept of doing things for HBCUs and doing things with HBCUs. Whereas I may have been critical of the NBA a year ago, I cannot be critical this year because they were doing something for HBCUs this year. Whereas, I look, it was maybe because of the timing, it wasn't as much last year. And sometimes there are still things that are happening because people want to be a part of this HBCU phenomenon and they want to be with HBCUs, but they're really not making any major contributions. When I saw those numbers, and especially the 11 shadow opportunities, don't sleep on how important that is. Of all the things, I thought that was the one that I circled and was like, yo, imagine being one of those 11 guys and gals. And I mean, somebody like myself who grew up, I'm still a sports fan, but grew up wanting to be in that environment, to get an opportunity to be in a shadow program. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. That's invaluable. I mean, one of those 11, hopefully more than one of those 11, may end up eventually becoming an executive at an NBA franchise and make a big difference in the future landscape of what we see in the face of executives in professional sports. And it may come as a result of that shadow opportunity. So when I talk about doing something for HBCUs, that's what I'm talking about. Opening up the doors, giving students an opportunity. The money is great, but giving the kids and those students the opportunity to work behind the scenes, to show that, hey, we are just as good as any local college, Power 5, whatever, university, West Direction State that you may want to support. Our students are just as good, maybe even a little bit better. I thought that was huge.
No, that was huge. That was
yeah. I didn't see any rating numbers come out. I know I was searching before the show. I don't think the ratings have come out yet. I don't, who knows if it really matters, because I think the optics were there. But what's the progression from this, Doc?
I think the progression is you'll probably see more components doubling down. I know it's like the number of partnerships you've seen with the Legacy Bowl, to kind of take that one first. Founding partners, these are the sponsors associated with this. Coors Light, the Saints, Louisiana, Food for Your Soul, Traveling, NFL, Adidas, Mahomes, Riddell, Mahomes Fame, Coca-Cola, Allstate Insurance, participating partners. I'm just getting started. Bobby Wagner for SiriusXM, Home Depot, Aaron Donald, Jameis Winston, Handshake Company, Toronto. You even had Tulane, the Older plus Doctors, Gulf Coast Guard, Sister that was associated with the NFL Network. And so the fact that you a lot of people partner with NFL, but the connection that you see in the dollars associated with it, and you could see that in terms of gave those students, and they really connected a lot of dots. Actually had the ability for them that was associated with it, and those kind of marketing things. I think I believe is highly significant with the a lot of the sponsorships associated with it. I told you some of the dollars associated with just that, with AT&T, obviously the NBA itself, Mountain Dew, just to give you a couple of those in there associated with that partnership. So I think that was huge. Same thing made Major League Baseball. So the course is going to make this even more relevant. And listen, there's money associated with this, and we live in a very, I think in a lot of ways you've seen that the professional organizations, associations, and franchise have this PR, but also there's a financial with specific corporations that want to be tied to this. I think it's going to grow in a lot of ways. The part we've kind of seen this last week is how they hurt some of the smaller businesses, smaller programs that are looking to gird of that. That's going to be challenging. Looking at the Division I programs. The second part, all taking a really hit last week. I think you're going to see that that's going to be even more do it at this level. So that's effects moving forward.
I want to echo kind of what you just said there, Doc, but I do want to let these corporations know, large and small, there are plenty other events, there are plenty other schools out there that are trying to occur that need support. It doesn't have to be the HBCU Legacy Bowl. It could be the HBCU within your state, within your metro market, or it could be other events out there that need funding, need supporting. You got events such as the Black College World Series trying to get off the ground. That looking for supporters out there. So it doesn't have to be the Coors Lights of the world. It could be a law firm in a local town that does its support, or it could be a chain of restaurants, a franchisee in a local town. There's plenty that could be done if you want to contribute to HBCUs within your community or nationwide.
Good point, Drew. I want to encourage everybody. There is a power in letting people know you appreciate their support. Trust me, I know it very well right now. But I would say for these events, the sponsors, the people that supported, let them know, hey, we appreciate you as an alum, as a fan. Let them know you appreciate their support, whether you buy their product or invest in their product or whatever, because that's what they, let's keep it real. That's what they are. They have a product to sell. And a lot of times the organizations, a lot of the funds, the social programs that a lot of the NFL athletes have, they have those set up for a reason to give back into those communities. But we have to let them know that, yes, we were watching. Yes, we appreciate your support. Or, hey, I'm a fan of Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Donald, Bobby Wagner. Let those send those, whether they reply or not, irrelevant. They get it. They got people who see that stuff. Let them know, hey, we appreciate as a FAMU graduate, I appreciate your support of the HBCU Legacy Bowl, and tag the HBCU Legacy Bowl. Let them know you appreciate their support. So I would encourage everybody this week to find some time in the middle of your tweets, and while we talk about all the other stuff going on in the world, let these sponsors and advertisers of these events know that you appreciate their support. Because, as you said, Drew, if you want to get the support at the smaller levels, you got to be able to let them know that, hey, there's an active, engaging audience that appreciates and sees what you're doing. So if you want more eyes, go give your support to these companies. Go ahead, Drew.
Something simple. If you don't have time to do everything that you're doing, because we all spend time on our phones, on our laptop, on our iPads. Go to their social media, like their Facebook, like their Twitter, Instagram. Click on their website. Let the algorithms speak for you if you can't do anything else. If those algorithms jump up this week, there's somebody in that marketing department who will correlate that back to this event that happened this weekend. Something simple.
Doc, I wanted to, if it's okay, before we kind of wrap up the segment, I wanted to transition to another big event coming up this week. It's the CIAA tournament. And I was just reading or watching a editorial from the president and GM of WBAL TV at 11 in Baltimore. And he did a good job, I thought, of pointing out the fact that the CIAA chose Baltimore. And in his message to his constituents and his viewers, he said there's a lot of negative things that have been happening in Baltimore. There's a lot of negative things that we unfortunately have to cover. I'm paraphrasing a bit. But the one good thing that's happening in our city is this basketball tournament this week. And it's because they chose us. And he made point of the potential of 100,000 spectators that will have an economic impact of nearly $500 million. So, if you can for a second, talk a little bit about the impact of what the CIAA it's unprecedented really as a Division II conference and what they continually do. They're the third largest basketball tournament in college basketball, and it's a Division II tournament. But the impact that they're to bring.
Yes, when you start looking at collection of HBCUs, private and public institutions, the institutions are not necessarily huge when you do it in terms of their enrollment, but they're huge and significant in terms of their history and what they put out in the community. And in a lot of ways, the CIAA tournament is cradle of what we have seen to what we just talked about. It is the embryo. A lot of people first started to see that this can be something that you can measure in terms of the corporate support and how you can find the synergy between. There's always going to be those that have some concern in terms of just the pure capitalism and how it feeds into cultural experience of HBCUs. But go with me for this for a minute. It's important from the standpoint that there is value associated. Understand that it goes a long way in regards to that was a beautiful point that you put out. That was Baltimore was chosen by the CIAA. Obviously, we've heard about disgruntled treatment by fans and in general the CIAA in terms of the leadership of what was going on and its previous. And the fact that they've lifted up tent and went somewhere else that wanted as much as they wanted to be in Baltimore itself. This looks like And so I'm looking forward to a great weekend. This is another opportunity where all these games will be broadcast in terms of ESPN and the championships with the partnership there. So you'll be able to see these games. So I think that's going to be fascinating as well in terms of the level of exposure that continues to be viewed on HBCU, whether it's at the SWAC, MEAC, now at CIAA, and even from a streaming platform, Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. We most recently had a partnership in terms of BCSN. Not at point. It is important that we showcase these institutions because of the modern platform that we're given today.
Well said, Drew. Any final questions or comments for Doc before we head to a break?
No, just the fact that the CIAA is the granddaddy of them all. Every tournament, no matter what conference, whether it's a historically white conference or historically black conference, strives to be the CIAA. It is a classic that is a week long. That's the best way to describe the CIAA. And to all of these cities that have these tournaments, this shows how important it is for you to take care of the commodity that you have, because you don't miss it until it's gone. And I guarantee you, Charlotte is going to miss having that tournament in its town this weekend. The heads and beds, the gas for the cars, the restaurants, all that stuff that cities like Birmingham are going to benefit from, and Baltimore this weekend. How many other cities are going to recognize and step up and do the things that they need to do to support events like this? And shout out to Montgomery, Alabama, also for stepping into things such as this and supporting a lot of HBCU events also.
I'm super jealous of all of you who get to go to these events and take a whole week off. I'm so jealous. But props to everybody who's planning to go to the CIAA. We'll talk a little bit more about the tournament here on the coming up here later in the show. But Doc, thanks for taking some time out to kick off the show with us. Don't forget, check out make sure you get into the lab tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Don't be late. Roll call is out on time, top of the hour. Got to put your name on the roll. Don't be late. And
check the roll.
And
we check the roll, Brian.
Yes, and come prepared. Like I got so many kids. I don't have a pen. I don't have a paper. I don't understand how you come to class and don't have a pen and paper. I got kids that do that, and I still to this day don't understand how you walk out the house without a pen and a paper. So if you come into the lab, have a pen and a paper with you and be ready to learn something. All right. That's tomorrow right here on the Black College Sports Network, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Doc, Mike, Charles, and hopefully everybody will be there. So we'll see what we got in store tomorrow. All right.
Yeah, we might talk a little bit about that conference chair with Tennessee State and Clark Atlanta, South Carolina. You got all that talk. New commissioner, MEAC commissioner, state made in regards to AT&T. I'm thinking about the sponsorship that we just spoke about, but don't North Carolina in regards to that. But that's going to be fascinating. So I'm that chatter as well. So I would like to sure I bring it tomorrow.
And I gotta say, Doc, before I let you go, I if you guys didn't go listen to 239, episode 239, I got a hoot. I laughed. I love 239, especially your repeat. I felt like I had to write it down 5 times. As you ended episode 239, reminding people, don't be fooled about why teams are moving or schools are moving conferences. It is not what you think. I think you said it. I can't even. I'm paraphrasing, but I know you repeated it about 5 times. It is not about football. It is not about football. It is not about football. I love the way you grabbed. That was like a mic drop, Doc. And then you almost added, if they told you that it's a lie. I just felt like, preach, Doc, preach. And I look, go listen to episode 239.
You can't handle the truth.
Thank you. Yes, I'm trying to figure out how to cut a promo on that. We will cut a promo because you said something right there, Doc. And so just go check episode 239 out. You can find it on the BCSN Pod Zone. It's right there at the top of the queue. Listen to the whole thing, but you'll get a kick out of the last 10 minutes, I think. You will thoroughly enjoy it, and you might learn something that you can go tell somebody else. That's all I got to say. All right, we're going to take a break. Again, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, thank you for your time. Make sure to check out the Inside the HBCU Sports Lab tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021. Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking. Me too. Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
All right, we there? We there? All right, there we go. Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and AD. Want to appreciate Dr. Kenyatta.
I'm gonna do my best, Calvin. Can you hear me?
In the last segment, look, yes, you got to stop all the rocking. Stop all the rocking. Look, we got a lot of stuff that went down over the weekend. So I mean, we can go in any number of places. Drew, coming up at the top of the second hour, we're going to get into the HBCU Legacy Bowl with Jamie Walker. Jamie was on site in New Orleans along with a lot of other media folks, but Jamie was there covering that game. So, we'll get a chance to talk about that. So that gives us about a half of the segment here to kind of talk about some other stuff, Drew. Let's get into, well, obviously the CIAA tournament is what's upcoming, right? So I figure what we should do is kind of set that up. And the first thing can we go into talking a little bit about that? Are you cool with that in this segment?
Yeah, unless you want to hit the non-HBCU story that we talked about.
Yeah. That one's a little bit close to our heart. So it is basketball related, but we can kind of get into that. Obviously, the big story, non-HBCU sports story that was happening, and we won't spend a lot of time on it. Just was a little personal for both of us because we are coaches on the side, and we've spent years, decades. That sounded odd to say, but yeah, years coaching basketball. So we know all too well some of the emotion that went on Sunday in Wisconsin between Juwan Howard and what's Wisconsin coach's name? Greg Beard, Baird or Beard or something like that. Look, so I'm getting off the plane and I'm seeing my phone just blow up saying Juwan Howard punched somebody. And I'm like, what? And so it wasn't until I got picked up and got the skinny, and then you start going to seeing a video. I will say this, my thoughts, a couple of things that come to mind for me. I can't for the life of me, and I'm not 6'9", but I always wondered what it'd be like to be 6'9" or 6'10". But for the life of me, I've heard Juwan Howard say on 2 different occasions in 2 different incidences that he's had in sideline altercations, Maryland last year and then this incident, that he felt threatened. And for the life of me, I'm like, why are you, as a 6'9", 6'10", former professional athlete from Chicago, why do you feel threatened by, let's just keep it real, these short white coaches who are probably about 5'10", 5'8"? Why do you know what I'm saying? Why do you feel threatened? Now, to me, that just sounds weird. And I some people will say, oh, that's the Chicago in him. I'm like, yeah, look, Juwan Howard's almost 50. Grow up. I feel like there's a part of me that says grow up. You are 50. You're supposed to be a leader of men. You are supposed to be setting the example as a Michigan man, setting the example for your team and your young people. You know, how do you feel threatened? These guys these guys aren't in your circle. They haven't made the money that you've made as a professional athlete, probably not even as a professional assistant coach. You feeling threatened should be the last thing, unless they're endangering your family or your house or your home. That I can see you feeling threatened by. But on the sideline, where you on the court, where you dominated, where you've owned that thing for over 30 years, Juwan Howard shouldn't feel threatened. So that part kind of sounds off to me. But secondly, and I go to everybody was wrong. Greg Beard was wrong for putting his hands on Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard was wrong for what he did. His reaction in touching Greg Beard back and then slapping the other guy, who I think I can't wait to hear what he said, because I still maintain that he said something. Not saying he deserved to be slapped, but he said something. And when you say something, it's like, yeah, you probably, if you're on the street, that's a slappable offense, probably what you said. But in the decorum of being a coach, where's our standard for coaches? Where's the standard for coaches? I think too many people want to say, oh, we should do away with handshake lines. Folks, let's stop trying to end things when one bad incident of the hundreds and thousands of handshake lines that show good sportsmanship and respect for the game occur. The one time, the 2 times, or 3 times out of the hundreds of thousands of times that happened, that it goes bad, that is not the time to say, let's stop doing it. So I'm sorry to Dick Vitale and whoever else tweeted, oh, let's stop having handshake lines. Even the COVID excuse didn't make sense. We can use COVID. Oh, well, we can't shake hands because of COVID. But you just played a 40-minute basketball game. I make it make sense to me, because it doesn't. So I will continue to say that Juwan Howard, as a coach, Greg Beard as a coach, as an example setter, as a leader of young men, as coaches who are supposed to be respecting the game, showing other people how to respect the game, did a poor job. And for that, they probably both should be suspended. I'd probably suspend Beard a game. I'd probably suspend Howard for 5, which is the rest of the regular season. Let him come back at the beginning of the Big Ten tournament. You know, and I think the thing for Howard, though, now that this is his second sort of scuffle, or however you want to describe it, bro, you might need some counseling. You might need some. Why do you feel triggered in these situations? You might need to talk that out with somebody, because I think Michigan is about to drop a no tolerance policy on you. And I saw how that happened to Bobby Knight back in the day. You could accidentally touch a kid and you're done. So I think that's what's up ahead for Juwan Howard. But that's just my take and how I saw that thing playing out. And trust me, every time I watch the tape, I watch a new guy, Drew, and I watch that guy for like the whole 30 seconds. Okay, let me see what this guy does. Let me see what this player does. I think I did that all this afternoon too. So I'll step away and I'll let you get a word in here.
Look, I want to stick with the basketball portion of this first. Juwan Howard, you are dead ass wrong. And I'm going to tell you how you wrong. Everybody's talking about the other coach shouldn't have called the timeout. They shouldn't have called the second timeout. Yes, the game was up. The game was essentially over. They were up double digits under a minute to go. From the Wisconsin side, I've cleared my bench. You and I have coached basketball long enough to know there's usually a decorum when the one team clears their bench, the other team go ahead and clears their bench. Be it the losing team sends them to the table first, or the winning team sends them to the table first. You usually try to match it when the game is out of hand. Be it the last minute of the game, be it the last 4 minutes of a game. You usually try to match it. Sidebar before I continue my point. I have personally witnessed teams that have come back from 10-point deficits, 9, 10-point deficits in under a minute to win games. So I understand the competitiveness. But Juwan Howard, if you are going to continue to press me, and me being the Wisconsin coach, that means I have to continue to coach my players in that situation as if it was a 2-point ball game. If you're going to play defense like it's a 2-point ball game, I'm going to coach offense like it's a 1-possession ball game. That means if I would take that timeout in that situation to save a possession in the first quarter, because it's a 1-possession ball game, I will do it in the fourth quarter if I'm down 20, if you're playing aggressively also. So I understand the optics of what the Wisconsin coach is doing by taking the timeout. And for those who are unfamiliar with the college basketball rule, you have 10 seconds to get the ball across the timeline. Not 8 like the NBA, but you have 10 seconds, just as in high school and levels below. Unlike high school, though, when the ball goes out of bounds in the backcourt, you do not get a new 10 seconds. If there is, at that point, I believe there was 6 seconds or 4 seconds remaining on the shot clock. It was at 24, I believe, or 26. You only have that time to get it across. So if the shot clock is at 24, you have 4 seconds to get the ball across. You do not get a new 10 seconds. The only way you get a new 10 seconds is to burn a timeout. Considering they had the ball on the end line, it was advantageous for them to call that timeout. So, from a basketball optics point, yes, he needed to call that timeout. Now, Juwan, you're upset. As adults, we have to know our own anger level. No matter what that other coach does, that may be the time. I'd rather for you talk about me. Hey, he didn't shake my hand. He went to the locker room because if I don't go to the locker room, I'm not gonna maintain my cool. Versus what you're talking about me now for, if I'm Juwan Howard, which is losing my cool in public on the court in front of 15,000 fans and 28 student athletes. So and all the cameras and millions around the world. That's what the story is. That story of me going to the locker room because I did not want to shake hands would have lasted about 30 seconds. So we have got to be better than that. Now, I coach high school. I coach basketball in Georgia. Georgia has gone away from the handshake. It originally was due to COVID. They did not reinstitute it this year in high school basketball. What does that mean? Then at the end of the game, hey, good game. Hey, good game. Good game. Point. Do what you do. And you go to your locker room. They go to their locker room.
Yep.
Did I like that originally? No, because like you said, it took that spirit of sportsmanship away. But it has kept a lot of the. You gotta watch them in line, Brian. You know how you've done it. You gotta watch them in line. You know who that high head on your team is. You gotta watch them in line. Or the other coach comes up to you at the end of the line because the head coaches and the assistant coaches are always at the end of the line. Hey, number 32 didn't shake hands. You need to talk to them. All that stuff is avoided now. You don't have to worry about that. And what tends to happen is coaches take their players down to the locker room. You have created a natural cooling off period because you're going to get in, you're going to address your team, win or lose. Then you guys come out, and if there's another game behind you, you pass each other in the gym, and then the two coaches shake hands, talk, whatever it is. Be it friends, even if they're not friends, you just get the mutual respect. But you've had time to cool off 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Now, your adrenaline is not as high as it used to be because let's be real. These are 18 to 22-year-olds, Ryan. I don't know about you. I was stupid at between 18 and 22. I'm not too much smarter now, but I was really stupid at that age. So I might have been the one who got caught up in some type of altercation that my coach or one of my teammates may have had to pull me out of. But as a coach at the collegiate level, that is almost a no. That's a no-no. I'm that coach, and I'll say this, Brian. I'm that coach who has ran on the court doing a live ball to grab a player from doing something stupid. Because I know I've seen that mannerism, and I had a referee getting ready to tee me up because I ran on the court doing a live ball until he realized why I ran on the court. When I ran on, bear hugged that kid and started walking him towards the sideline. Then he's like, "I'm not gonna tee you up, coach. Thank you." Because he's like, "I'm about to get you." Yes. Yeah. And I was like, if you gotta tee me up, fine, but I'd rather take this tee than to have these kids suspension and have a melee up in here. He left it alone.
Yeah, no, and all these kids, they know, none of those kids that got caught up in that dust up are unfamiliar with the spirit of the handshake line. They've been doing it since they were little kids. They know what it's about. So, as you said, when you have adults do what adults did, it just compounds things and makes things worse. So I know Jawan wanted to do the blow by, and Greg Beard, he should have let him do the blow by. He should have let him go. You didn't have to stop him to explain why you did what you did. That's not your role. If he wants to blow by and drop a snide comment and say, "I'll remember that," Drew, what did we talk about earlier? What are you supposed to say? I hope you do, coach.
I got you.
Okay, and keep walking. I got you. Keep moving.
Exactly.
That's all you got to do. The situation's over. But you wanted to stop and explain. You never try to stop him unless that's your brother. You never stop a man who's hot, who's 38 hot, unless he's charging at you. And he wasn't charging by. He was walking by you. You could have let that go, and we could have moved on. So it would have saved. But things happen and people do what they do. So, yeah. So that's how that went. So we had to comment on that because look, as coaches, we talk and we see this stuff all the time, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But don't let the overreaction affect your mindset about the handshake line and the spirit of it, because it happens the right way thousands more times than the one or two bad. Like, don't let a bad apple ruin the bunch, so to speak. Don't let one bad incident ruin the countless hundreds of other times where it goes well. All right, let's catch up on a break.
One thing. Juwan Howard deserves, at minimum, twice as much of a suspension as any player is going to get.
Oh yeah, because there's a couple of players who did throw some punches. So again, I hate to be, can you imagine being in that Big Ten commissioner's office, having to watch that video with your morning coffee, dealing with that for about 4 hours, getting interviews and talking to people, and I mean, not a fun morning in the Big Ten office.
I guarantee you, there's something else in that coffee after the first cup.
Stop. Let's catch up on the break. Coming back on the other side, Jamie Walker's joining us. We're going to talk about the HBCU Legacy Bowl. We still got more to talk about. A full loaded show. We haven't got into the basketball or the CIAA stuff. We promise we will get to that coming up here in the second hour. Thanks for watching the BCSN SportsWrap. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No. 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment. Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan, AD here, and about to join us in this segment, good friend of the program, Mr. Jamie Walker. Want to make a quick reminder to you, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, want to appreciate everybody who's out there watching the show on YouTube. Get a shout out Tamara T, thank you. Edwin Moore, appreciate you, thank you. Will Mayer, yes, Flomo is in the building. Although I will say it's funny, we were reminded that they don't like to use Flomo. So I just, I know you old school.
Boy, was I reminded.
You old school FMU folks. You can hold on to that, but let's just, I tell you, they
don't let the president hear you say that.
Yeah, don't let the president hear you say that. Mary 305, always good to see you. Stephen Campbell, thanks for jumping in. Real Talk. Dropped a few good questions in there. We'll see if we can answer some of those. Any of you folks on Facebook, we appreciate you guys for joining us as well. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel or to the Facebook page and so forth. All right, so Jamie, How you doing? Looks like you've added to the Aggie gear on the wall. How you doing, my friend?
I am good. The Aggie gear is always being added on as I continue to just transition into this room. So yeah, man, it's always on the wall.
Gotta get your CAA logo up there on one of those panels.
Ah,
did you go there, Bryan? Did you go there, Bryan?
Listen,
look, we want Jamie to come back.
Listen, we need to chop it up. Hey, I don't mind. You know, I keep it a buck, so I will always do that.
Let's get into the Legacy Bowl first, and but we definitely want to make sure we save part of the segment for the CAA, Big South, A&T, MEAC, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to use the word debacle, but it's a situation.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely.
And I don't know who that is in my ear.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to make sure that it's not, obviously I don't think it's going out. So Jamie, all right, let's get right into going into what we saw. Obviously you got in on a Friday, correct? Did you get a chance to partake in any of the practices, or what was the schedule like when you got there on Friday?
I got in late on Friday, so I wasn't able to see too much going on as far as, the pressers, the practices, things of that nature. Was able to see it through other media, and it was a first class event. First of all, the Black College Hall of Fame really put on a event athletes. So you were able to see, career fairs, and you were able to see press conferences and them meeting with different players and them meeting with, NFL scouts and things of that nature. So it was one of those things where it wasn't, I attended the one that I think another entity put on the year before. And it was good as well, but they put on a first class event this week for those athletes.
And I'm just trying to set up for those who may not have seen much of the things outside of the play on the field. How would you describe the the attendance? What did the attendance look like for you?
The attendance was great. Considering, you're talking about the day of the game, or you're talking about
on the day of the game. Yeah, the day of the game.
It was pretty good, considering that this is the inaugural event. And what I'll say is this: it was a beautiful day in New Orleans, and so it was one of those things where there were people waiting. As I arrived to the area, already lined up trying to get in. It was at Tulane Ullman Stadium. So it was a thing where, it was plenty of room, things of that nature. Everything logistically was great, and it was a pretty good crowd. Now, of course, it wasn't capacity, and you want to see something, of that nature full. But I think it was a good crowd, considering what kind of event this was, which was an all-star game in certain senses.
And I think you tell me. Oh, go ahead, Drew. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Jump in there.
I was going to ask you, do you think with the Andre Dawson Classic also being in Atlanta, do you think that may have had an effect on attendance? And I don't know if that was intentional or an unintentional consequence of the two events.
I mean, forget that for a second. You got Mardi Gras still going on. And so you're talking about a bunch of different stuff going on at the same time. Yes, I think if you were an HBCU supporter, you did split your allegiance between a lot of what was going on, because even with the Andre Dawson Classic, I think it was two games going on in two different fields at the same time. So I tried to, run in and try to get in and even catch one of those on Friday night, but couldn't get in on time. But yeah, you had a lot going on in the city at the same time. And again, slightly cool on Friday night. And then again on Saturday, beautiful day. So between everything that the city offered, getting in and out, it was, again, a really good crowd with everything going on.
From a game perspective, and I think football all-star games are the toughest games to execute. because I mean, let's keep it real. One injury.
No one wants to get hurt, man.
Right. I was gonna say one injury could ruin your prospects. And for most of those guys, if they made it through the week of practices, which is what I hear the scouts really came to see and watch, because obviously they should have plenty of game film to watch. But so when you get into the actual heat of the game, it can sometimes be a little slower or a little more. It can be more vanilla, and we saw that from the outcome. What's your take on the actual play on the field? Why you thought the scoring was so low? What would you change if you had an opportunity? I know I gave you a lot there, but I just give me your thoughts there.
I think because of the magnitude of what was going on with no HBCU players selected in the last draft, I think these athletes came into this game knowing that that NFL scouts would be there, that the NFL Network was broadcasting the game. With everything at stake, they came in ready to play. Now, I think in some instances you had to back some athletes up, and it was kind of visible from the booth area that these guys were playing hard. There were some positions that needed to be solidified. I think there's some draft statuses that are still up in the air with a lot of people. There's been some people that have already been selected for the NFL Combine that weren't necessarily in the game. So those that weren't selected to be in the NFL Combine needed another showcase to show what kind of athleticism they were. I think coaches audition for different jobs. I mean, let's not forget about them. So I think in the ability to be able to put all of this together and showcase your talent, I think it was probably 75 to 80% playing speed. So it was a thing of not quite I'm gonna hurt my opponent or I'm just gonna go full bore. But I do think there was something to say, kind of like, I don't know, I'll give an example. The NBA All-Star and the Elam ending. Once they had that, hey, now I'm going to start playing defense. It was one of those things where if you got your second time around getting in, and they did a wonderful job of being able to get a great deal of the athletes significant minutes to be able to showcase their talents. So I think they did a good job of doing that, and they played hard nonetheless. I think the format was really good because they changed up a few rules where the selections of the offenses were able to get on despite maybe a team finishing up a drive. So it was a good display of talent at the game.
Drew, go ahead.
So talk about the game. What was your feeling of the game? Was it were you able to see the flow? Were you able to see the interactions on the sideline? I mean, just tell us about the game itself.
Well, with the game itself, I think, again, going to the showcasing of talent is what they wanted to display. You can see when you're dealing with the coaches that were involved, Gabe Gardenia and Willie Simmons, along with Buddy Pugh and Damon Wilson. You're talking about, really clutch guys that have been in the HBCU game for quite a while. And so they wanted to showcase what those athletes were able to do. And so initially, going first drive, I think Team Gaither got it first. Jeremy Higbottom started the ball game, and you can see a lot of times if you followed his career both at Grambling and at Tennessee State, you can see a transition between him being able to be a significant pocket passer and his running ability. And so what ended up happening was when he got out on the field and led this offense, they wanted to display his arm. So I think they did a great service to really study the players that they had on each of these rosters and be able to display what scouts may have not been able to see from them in even on the film. So you can see him be a field general and really display what his talents, his arm talent more so than his feet, although his feet kept drives alive as well. Even with the Division II talent that got on the field, you were able to see them to play defense, be able to show what kind. The kid from Shawan played a great game at quarterback. He really led that first initial score. So you can see, I think the coaches did a really good job in honing in on what the skill sets of the players were and wanted to display those talents. So with the flow of the game, you could see them go back and forth. Of course, in an all-star game and really having a week to prepare with one roster, it wasn't, the offense is oftentimes slower to catch up than it is the defense. Defense, you can play, vanilla or your base defenses and be able just to show what kind of running and hitting you're doing. But on offense, it was a little bit more difficult, really until the second half, and really Team Gaither was able to show more sustained drives than Team Robinson. So it flowed like a regular football game, but again, they up some of the rules so that you could display the talent.
Now, we know we've got the USFL starting, and there are a couple of other leagues that have recently started or will be getting started. Did you see anyone who claimed that they were from the other league because they may not have wanted to let people know that they were there? And B, do you think this was an opportunity for some of these people to get some film to possibly go to this league? And there are going to be some people who are going to get their reality that I'm not going to make it to the national. I may need to look at going with the USFL or one of these other leagues and go ahead and sign now and not even wait on the draft, because these summer leagues or spring leagues and summer leagues are getting ready to start training within the next couple of weeks.
Well, throughout the week, they had other personnel there, and I think it was no secret you had the deal with the XFL and the NFL today, even talking about them collaborating. So I think it's a joint effort, especially within HBCUs wanting football players to get to professional leagues and them being around to see this kind of talent. Even afterwards, you saw players really tweeting out, their experiences within the week. And the fact that they were willing to play in leagues as well. So I think that was an emphasis going in to this week that, hey, the NFL is here, and if you're talented, they'll find you. It may not be an immediate find, but they will find you. But I think you had, talks with players, and they are open to going to other leagues. You can see them, responding afterwards to it being a first-class event, but being open to being on other rosters as well.
Let's go to I don't know if you've got a top 3 or a top 5 guys who impressed you from the game or stood out from the game.
Well, Jeremy Higbottom was one that definitely impressed me because him leaving Grambling, going to Tennessee State, you could see the progression and improvement in his game, being able to have some kind of pocket presence within how an NFL offense would be, especially with the way the NFL offenses are kind of transitioning to letting quarterbacks use their legs. He looked really good. He looked like a Tyler Huntley of Baltimore that was, able to drop back and actually throw, see some things open and be able to use his legs, but also looking upfield. So that was one that stuck out. Jermaine Martin.
Let me jump in real quick because you brought something up when you mentioned Higbottom, and since you brought up a quarterback first, did it surprise you that so much was done from the shotgun? I was really shocked after seeing all of the quarterbacks. I don't think I saw very little to none plays run under center, which is one of those things that you always hear the transition from college to the pros where they're saying, oh, there's so much shotgun up-tempo, read and react versus the traditional under center. Were you surprised that none of that was there? And then kind of going with your list. I'm sorry to jump in there, but I thought about that.
Oh, no, you're good. No, you're good. There was mostly short yardage when it came to being under center. They tried it on the goal line once. I know I was looking, facing where I was facing on the left and they tried to do, and it's crazy. It's becoming a lost art in football to be under center. They are still having trouble because it's so much shotgun. But there was a fumble snap even from under center. They tried a short yardage play earlier in the game where the quarterback went under center, and it wasn't necessarily successful. So I think it's not surprising, because I think that's where the NFL game is going. If you look at and see, them play on Sundays, it's almost all shotgun. There's not many teams that play from under center anymore. You got your Tennessee Titans that, especially if you're a run heavy offense, you'll see the quarterback be under center a little more. But for the most part, they're taking this thing under in the shotgun, and quite honestly, it opens up the game for the HBCU game. And the reason I say that is because if you judge based on the quarterback's ability to be able to scramble and to be able to use his legs to continue to move offensively, I think that's exactly what you want to display is out of the gun, because again, the college game is moving up into the NFL game, and you can see more athletes being able to transition at the quarterback position into, by being able to use your legs. Now, you get some flack with that, because there are some people that are so old school that they want to see the traditional pocket passer. But at the same time, if you got an athlete that can control the game from the quarterback position, why not see what they can do? And I think the HBCU game is tailor-made for that. But Jermaine Martin was another one. He for North Carolina A&T. He was injured the majority of the year. But I think in this game they did, and I don't know if it was due to injury or due to just other things going on, but they displayed him a lot. They ran him early and ran him late, and you could see him getting stronger as the game went on. But also, he didn't drop a pass, and I think they threw him 6 passes. So they were able to show his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. So I think, he was one that definitely, stock may have gone up. But I'm going to tell you what, Deshaun Dixon from Norfolk State is on defense. You could see him coming off the edge really causing havoc. And he didn't win the MVP, but I think really he sold himself throughout the entire week, being able to just display his talents. So I think those 3, if you were just looking for 3, would be one. Akil Glass, of course, is getting the hype. He didn't have his best game at the Legacy Bowl, but I think he is still up there to be one of the ones drafted, if there are players drafted out of HBCU ranks. Fingers and toes crossed for that, and that should happen this year. But out of the game, he didn't play his best. I know in some of the earlier All-Star games he did well, but I think the way the intricate passing game of Alabama A&M is, his preparation for that wasn't necessarily conducive to playing well in this game. Although D. Anderson, one of his receivers, looked good as well. So I think that's another player that you can definitely look at. Marquise McLean from Southern is another wide receiver that was able to take hits, was able to really go across the middle and secure the ball. And you like to see that, even though sending receivers over the middle is a lost art in the NFL game. So I think he displayed a lot of skills that are pertinent to the game, and a lot bigger than I thought he was going into the season, just size wise. So he's definitely put in some work. But those are some players that really stood out to me.
Hey, how big does D. Anderson look to you? I mean, I'm assuming you got on the field. He's listed as 6'6", and I had heard that there was some talk about him possibly moving to tight end. And I say that if you compare D. Anderson to the kid Mallard from Bethune, who was a tight end this past year, how would you compare those two in terms of size and body structure?
A little more wiry, to be honest with you. I think he does have the height, and he would have to put on some weight. but I think he's not there yet to play tight end. I think they would, let's say a Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons, for example. He's in that mode, but has to get a little bit bigger. But you could actually move Pitts out to wide receiver. So I think it's a matter of really based on how you run your scheme offensively of whether or not he could do it. I think he could, because I think he could put on some weight to actually do this. And I think he's definitely a willing receiver. But you saw a lot of out routes, a lot of upfield routes, a lot of flies, a lot of, post patterns, things of that nature. But would he be willing to be in, a midline or interior blocker? That remains to be seen, because you really didn't see that in Connell Mander's offense at A&M.
The latest news that just came out, and I don't know, Drew or Jamie, if you saw this, about the planned or potential boycott of the NFL Combine in Indianapolis due to some of the quarantine protocols, or I forgot what the bubble protocols that they're trying to put in place, which for the life of me, I don't understand why they're trying to create a bubble all of a sudden when you got guys who have been all over the doggone country for the last 2-3 months. But anyway, there's a potential boycott, and 150 guys is the number that's being reported may boycott this combine. To my knowledge, there's only 4 guys from the HBCUs that are there that are planned to go. Is that what you guys have heard? And those 4, I know Kobe Durant, Marquise Bell. I can't think of the other 2 right now, but are you hearing similar things? And what are your thoughts on this combine and the practices might be the last opportunity to be seen against other, athletes until maybe pro days come up later in March?
This is always the dilemma when it comes to younger players versus older. A lot of times when it comes to their needs and wants, when it comes to the union, it affect current players, of course. But you're talking about kids that want to get into the National Football League. And although sometimes you take the greater good of a situation and just kind of eat it for the lifeblood of the league or lifeblood of your situation, I think it hurts players not to be in it, especially HBCU players, because you have to have opportunity to display talents in front of all 32 teams. And so it does hurt us in particular, because you're not going to have that quote unquote, and I won't call it the last chance, because teams are going to have their pro days or combined pro days or whatever. But I think within the NFL Combine, you're talking about the media hype going along with coaches being on display and general managers and owners or franchise owners that are there. And it's tough, because you're talking about the quarantine rules, and people are quite sick of COVID, to be honest with you, and just sick of the restrictions. And rightfully so, depending on your perspective. I've had it, so I wouldn't want it again. So I understand exactly what's going on with prevention. But at the same time, you're talking about an athlete's dream of going to the pinnacle of their profession, quote unquote. And so you only have a limited amount of time to display your talents. So I think it's a difficult situation, regardless of their decision. I can respect both sides.
All right. Drew, any final questions or thoughts for Jamie before we break out of this segment?
Yeah, man. You got your platform. Go ahead and get it off your chest. That's the A&T stuff, brother. Go ahead and get it off your chest. I'm not even going to ask you a leading question. This is you.
First and foremost, Aggie pride, as always. You know what? They had no choice within this. I think the response by Commissioner Stills of the MEAC was golden. It was golden. I'll just say it because I think both entities are right to do what is in the best interest of them. I think A&T had no choice considering Hampton's moves, what the Big South is able to do, and things of that nature. So I think from that standpoint, the CAA is the best choice considering what the choices are. However, with the news coming out that the MEAC actually made a pitch and proposal to A&T and it was essentially turned down, my only question is what was in that proposal? And that really would answer a whole lot of the questions that I would have, because that would give me the answer to the quote unquote assimilation word that Commissioner Stills used. That I mean, you know, that's the, you know, and you know, there was publications that put it verbatim what she responded to. And just to paraphrase it, you know, A&T, you know, did what they felt was best for them, but you know, Commissioner Stills said of the MEAC said, you know, she didn't feel that conferences or that teams had to assimilate into white conferences to be relevant. And so,
first of all, did she have to go there and call and actually say it like that? That's the first question I want somebody to answer. She could have. I think she says that without putting the white into it. It may have been taken in a different context. The fact that she actually called it out and said a white conference,
that's what Hampton's
rubbed a lot of people. But the fact that a commissioner of a conference says it like that, you and I can say that. Jamie can say that. But for the conference commissioner to say that, that's a different level.
She listen for last. I hope I'm not frozen. For the last almost 2 years, I constantly, as an A&T graduate and A&T fan, hear the words, "Y'all think the white man's ice is colder." I hear that term, and I just say this: no, Jamie Walker does not think that at all. There are some entities that may think so. However, she said it. She said what everybody continues to say. And as a commissioner and as a person that 100, bravo to her, because she said exactly what people are thinking. Now, whether it's the truth or not, again, it goes into the proposal made by the MEAC and answering that question. And I would love to know. I will probably never know. I won't be privy to that information, but I would love to know what was talked about or what was presented. And if I had that answer, I would be fine. But either way, it's still Aggie Pride, but I'm going to tell it like it is. I support HBCU conferences. I want them to thrive regardless of what goes on. I want these teams to thrive. But, I am an HBCU conference advocate.
All right. I gotta find this. Find somebody send me this quote so I can read the full transcript. But I think she was taking a shot at your leadership, which look like
absolutely, it's no question.
Doesn't look like any of us on this screen. So yeah, that was a shot. Shots fired. Okay, so Jamie, let folks know where they can find you if they're already not following you out there on the social media landscape.
You can follow me on Twitter at SportVoiceJW. And you'll find me calling a game somewhere or commenting on somebody's show. But you'll find me somewhere.
All right. We appreciate you, Jamie. Thank you for your coverage of the Legacy Bowl. And we appreciate you coming in and joining us. So we'll wait to see kind of what happens with the next stage of this. Oh, one of the questions that I'm putting it out there to everybody now, I'm going to set a number of players, HBCU players that get drafted. Okay, I'm gonna set. I think previously I may have said 3.5. I'm upping it now. I'm saying over or under 5. I'm going to leave it at a solid number of 5. 5 is a push. So we'll say over or under 5 players get drafted. So I want to hear from you guys out there on YouTube, Facebook. Let us know. Jamie, what say you? Over or under 5 players get drafted in the NFL draft?
I say over.
Okay. Over 5.
Yep.
All right. Drew, I'll ask you that question on the other side of the break, give you a chance to think about it. And again, anybody out there, if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, let us know in the chats. Over or under 5 HBCU players get drafted in the 2022 NFL draft. March is coming up, so there's a few more combine and pro days coming up, but we'll start to see and hear more to come. So, hey, Jamie, thank you for your time this evening. Good to see you. Thank you for all your thoughts and prayers and everything, man. And definitely we'll be in touch, all right?
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We're coming up after the other side. Top 5, talking a lot of basketball on the other side. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language. And she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Troy, you work here? I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulder Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulder Scalp Shield, never not working.
Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music. The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and AD here as we get into the final segment of our show. A lot of basketball news from over the weekend. Let's kind of one of the notes from the CIAA. We'll start there because obviously they are the big the main headline for this upcoming week as the CIAA tournament begins tomorrow in Baltimore, Maryland. First time since 1952 it's been in Baltimore. The CIAA announced their players of the year. On the women's side, Brianna Brown, a senior guard from Lincoln, PA, was named the CIAA Women's Player of the Year. Second straight Lincoln player to earn the honor in as many seasons. She led the conference in scoring, 16.9 per game in the regular season, while ranking 6th in the league in field goal percentage at 37%. Second in the conference at the free throw line, 1.3 steals per game, ranking among the league leaders. Other superlatives on the women's side, the women's defensive player of the year was Sirianne Pitts of Elizabeth City State. The CIAA Women's Rookie of the Year was Ciara Harris of Johnson C. Smith. And the Coach of the Year was Tynesha Lewis of Elizabeth City State. For the women's bracket, trying to see where I wrote this down. So the women's bracket, you have 3 teams from the North as the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. So Lincoln, PA is the Northern champion, a courtesy of their win over Virginia State. Lincoln finished the regular season 12-4. They are the 1 seed. The 2 seed is Elizabeth City State, who claimed the 2 seed with a win over Bowie State, and now Bowie is the 3 seed. So the 1, 2, and 3 seeds are all from the Northern Division. The 4 seed is Johnson C. Smith, who won the South, and the 5 seed was Fayetteville State. Now, one of the things that I was reading about, of course, the tiebreaker as seeding. So conference tiebreakers for seeding is as follows. It goes with head-to-head competition, then head-to-head point differential, then divisional winning percentage, and then it's a coin toss. So, of course, in the tournament, which is a 12-team field, the top 4 teams all get a bye. All of the games will appear on ESPN Plus. So that's a big big opportunity there, with the championship games being played on the 26th on ESPNU. So for the women, you've got, starting tomorrow, you've got an 8-9. Actually, all the women's opening round games start tomorrow with the 8-9. Well, they start at 10 o'clock. They go from 10 o'clock to 12:10, 2:20, and 4:30. So that's your 8-9 matchup, 5-12 matchup, 6-11, and a 7-10. And then the quarterfinals are split up over 2 days. So the quarterfinals take place on Wednesday and Thursday. Semifinals are on Friday. Championship is on Saturday. You can go to the CIAA.com to see the seeding and the matchups outside of the top 4. For the men, their superlatives: Lincoln, PA's junior Zarian Blue was named the CIAA Men's Player of the Year. Blue led the CIAA in scoring during the regular season, 18.9 points, while ranking 4th in the conference at 7.4 rebounds per game, 9th with 2.7 assists. He shot 48% from the field, nearly 74% from the free throw line, which was the 5th and 11th best percentage, respectively. Let's see. He totaled a CIAA best 143 defensive rebounds, averaging 1.5 steals per game, which ranks top 5 in the conference. The defensive player of the year was Navar Elmore from Livingston. The rookie of the year, Jaden Balati of Elizabeth City State. The coach of the year was Corey Lowry of Lincoln, PA. So shout out to them. And then over on the men's side, you had the top 4 seeds, or Fayetteville State, who won their game courtesy of a tiebreaker over Virginia Union. So Fayetteville State is the 1 seed, Virginia Union the 2 seed. Winston-Salem State, who they won the tournament in 2020, which was the last time the tournament played. They are the 3 seed, and Lincoln, PA is actually the 4. And so for the men in the opening round, they actually are split on the opening round, where 2 games will play tomorrow, Tuesday. 2 of the opening round games will play Wednesday. And then also on Wednesday, you'll have Wednesday and Thursday, a split of the quarterfinals between some of the so for example, the 2 teams that play tomorrow, the winner will actually advance to the quarters against one of the teams that earned a bye. So that's how the CIAA is set up. Drew, got to make mention while we're in the lower level divisions here, I should say under D1 level, some big games that took place in the SIAC over the weekend, some games that we were watching intently. Over on the men's side, you had Morehouse beating Benedict 88-76. That was a big game in terms of the standings, which, if I'm not mistaken, Morehouse continues on their winning streak. They closed the gap against Benedict to 1 game. So Benedict and Morehouse separated by just 1 game heading into the final week of the season. Miles continues, I believe, on their winning streak. Miles got a win over Central State, 61-37. As I look at the schedule of games today, you had Albany State at Savannah, Lane at Tougaloo College. Miles hosting Tuesday, hosting Lemoyne Owen. Let's see who else. Benedict is hosting Allen. On Wednesday, Morehouse hosts Albany State. End of the week, I don't see anything here. Saturday, no game. So the regular
season ends this week.
Yeah, I
they
was going
take
to
the
say
weekend off, and the tournament begins early in the week. Sorry.
Down there. Any over on the women's side? Oh, got to mention the women's side. A big matchup took place on Saturday between Savannah State and Tuskegee. On the road, the Savannah State Tigers, Lady Tigers, taking on the Lady Golden Tigers of Tuskegee, and Savannah State stays hot with a 79-73 victory over Tuskegee, which they improved their record now to 24-1. And I believe I saw Savannah State was ranked like 15th in the country, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, they
Something
were
to that
coming into
effect.
this week, so I'm pretty sure they're going to rise with those two big victories over Tuskegee and Benedict this week. I mean, they've earned it. And let's take something into perspective, Brian. Savannah State has more wins on the road than they have at home. And now think about that. They've got 24 victories, 13 away, 11 at home. 13-1 on the road, 11-0 at home.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty doggone impressive. Shout out Tuskegee. They have a 20-4 overall record, so a 20-win season there for Tuskegee. They're first in the West. Benedict is just a game behind, actually 2 games behind, technically, Savannah State. So 19-7. So again, you don't want to finish as the 3 seed or the 2 seed, because obviously it sets up sort of that showdown between Benedict and Tuskegee in the women's. But that SIC women's tournament will be interesting. And again, we talked about how many teams from the SIC women can get into the Division II playoffs. I think Savannah State's ticket is punched. I think really all they need to do is get a win in the tournament, and they're probably in. It's just a matter of Benedict and Tuskegee. I think whoever gets to the championship game is in, and it's just a matter of, does the other team get to the semifinal? You know, don't stumble early. Don't stumble in your quarterfinal matchup is the key here, you know? So that'll be key for them. And I don't know, you know, it might be a little tough for Miles, man. Miles, you know, we talked a couple of weeks
They
ago.
dropped
We
2
thought
this week,
Miles,
if I remember correctly.
They did. They dropped a couple. Lane is actually in second place in the West. Lane with an 11-6 conference record, 16-9 overall. So interesting to kind of see what happens there. Quickly over to the NAIA level and the Red River for the men's conference. You've got Xavier sitting at 11-4. In the conference, 20-5, got their 20th win of the season with a win over Paul Quinn. That was a 67-66 win in overtime. So that was pretty big win for Xavier over Paul Quinn. Again, such a shame that Paul Quinn is not eligible for the tournament this year. Let me see, anything over in the women's side, Drew, while I finish up pulling the Red River, if you want to pull up
do you have Xavier with their run?
Yeah, right now it's up to 13 game winning streak for the Xavier ladies, 14-1 in the Red River, 19-5 overall, well on their way possibly to a 20-win season here, depending upon how the last weeks of the season. They should get the 1 seed in the tournament. A team they got to watch out for, though, Our Lady of the Lake on the other side, though. They have not lost in conference play in the West. I don't know if those 2 teams played each other or not. Not too familiar with how the Red River rolls, but that's just something to pay attention to. Southern States. What's the Southern? Now, you just You just called that game this past weekend in the Southern States. What do we know about their breakdown? They already announced their bracket, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, they finished their season up yesterday. Had one game they had to get in as Talladega had to face number one Loyola out of New Orleans, and for the second time in 1 week, Brian. Matter of fact, Stillman had to face them 2 times in 1 week, Loyola, as one was a makeup game, one was the regularly scheduled game. And unfortunately, both teams lost to Loyola. So Loyola defeated both these teams, combination of 4 times. So for the Stillman men, they finished number 4 in the Southern States, and they will play Thursday morning in Montgomery, Alabama, which is where the tournament is being hosted at. And the Stillman women finished 5th. What's ironic about the Stillman women, they will play the same opponent that they played yesterday. Excuse me, they played Saturday, and that opponent being William and Carey. So and they've lost both games to William and Carey this season. So can William and Carey defeat Stillman 3 times in a row? Let's hope not.
Yes, again, Thursday you've got Stillman taking on Mobile, and we're talking men here. So men, as you just mentioned, Talladega will play the winner of Dalton State and Bruton Parker on Thursday, and Stillman is the 4. So it looks like, as it's kind of set up, Stillman will have to find a way to beat Loyola on that side of the bracket. First, they got to get by Mobile, and then they'll have to look to figure out a way to beat Loyola in the semifinals. So, again, that's the Southern States is taking place Wednesday through Saturday. And so then on the women's side, you had the seeding. You just say that again. You had for the women's.
William and Carey, they'll face William and Carey in the 4-5 match.
Right. Okay. So a nice little turnaround there in Stillman, and so that'll be on, as you said, Thursday morning. So
I believe that's the opening game.
Got to wake up Thursday morning.
Not yet, right. Not yet, Mr. Producer. Not yet, Mr. Producer.
Well, I got a feeling he's putting that up there. He's trying to send us a signal. Maybe he's trying to send us a signal.
Can I get one other thing about Stillman out before we go into these rankings?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bilal Whittle was named the Conference Player of the Week in baseball for Stillman. He hit .692 with 5 RBI, and including 4 RBIs against Payne and 1 home run on yesterday.
All right.
So he's the Southern States Conference Player of the Week.
Right. While we've got our Division I top 5 up, it'll give us a chance to kind of talk a little bit about what is happening over on the Division I side. As you can see, the top 5 rankings start with Norfolk State at 1, Texas Southern, followed by Southern, Howard, Alcorn State as the top 5. In the SWAC this past weekend, on this past Saturday, I tell you what, the top 5, it just keeps tighter and tighter, Drew. You got the Southern losing to Grambling, just created losing to Grambling for the second time this year, just created a log jam in first place, as you got Southern, Texas, and Alcorn sitting at 10-4. Alcorn gets a 1-point win over Jackson State at the free throw line, matter of fact. So, I mean, and which is kind of ironic given the fact that Alcorn lost a game earlier this year at the free throw line. So to sort of get that back is kind of interesting to see. They get that last-second win with 3 seconds left in regulation to win that ball game. Coach Dante Johnson of Grambling, in just his 5th season, drew 10-2, or I'm sorry, 9-2 versus Southern, including Baton Rouge. So you talk about owning somebody right now. He definitely has been putting it on Southern. And the curious thing with FAMU at 9-5, Grambling at 9-5. You got two teams going into action tonight, matter of fact, that are just sitting one game out of first place. So we could be talking next week about a complete flip of who's in first place in the SWAC. And just back at Southern has lost to Grambling State twice this year. Texas Southern has 2 losses as well. They've lost to Southern twice this year. And Grambling, who sits at 9-5, has 2 losses to Texas Southern this year. So talk about the irony of that. And then
that's what you call parity.
Parity, okay. You called this the team to watch out for 2 weeks ago. Prairie View A&M. Listen to this. Of course, they have the 2 forfeit losses. You know who those 2 forfeits came to, right? Grambling and Southern.
And Grambling.
Yes. Now, Prairie View has managed a way to beat 3 of these top 5 teams. They've beaten Southern, they've beaten Alcorn, and Grambling. Okay? They've lost to Texas Southern and FAMU by 1 point each. So when we talk about the team that is most dangerous, that is Prairie View A&M, currently tied for 6th in the conference with a record of 7-7, one right behind Alabama A&M. So you talk about a team that you may not want to face. As you said, you called it 2 weeks ago.
Stay off the line with Prairie View, whatever line they on.
Exactly. So, stay off the line with Prairie View because that'll be an upset. Putting that game on upset watch. You see Howard right there. Howard, of course, the number 4 seed, getting a win this past weekend in up in Cleveland with I'm looking for the score here, 68-66 win over Morgan State. That was a good win for them. North Carolina Central continues to win. Pay attention, North Carolina Central, 7-2 in the MEAC, closing the gap on everybody. They're doing what they do. Right there, sitting right behind Norfolk State. And then I got to give a shout out again. South Carolina State gets a 70-63 win. How about South Carolina State? 14-12 overall, 6-4 in the MEAC. Again, one of the worst teams in all of Division I basketball just a year ago. South Carolina State might be the story of the year. Coach of the year belongs to South Carolina State's head coach. I don't care what you say. They're 14-12 overall. Coach of the year right there for South Carolina State, especially if they finish and knock off a few people. All right, let's go over to the Division I women. Jump over to that side. Of course, it's the big bad Lady Tigers of Jackson State in first place. And then you've got the rest of the MEAC there. Howard, Coppin State, Norfolk State, Morgan, and all of them. Look at the conference standings, like 8-2, 8-2, 8-2. And then Morgan sitting a game behind at 7-3. Lauren Harper should be up for consideration for Coach of the Year. Another outstanding. Now Coppin was a team very bad last year. Very, very bad. But she has turned. She finally got, some time with those kids, and they've turned their season around tremendously this year. Look at that record, 17-9. So it'll be, the MEAC women are shaping up. That's a tournament for the MEAC, especially among those 4 teams. And who knows? Somebody gets upset. Anything's possible, right? And then you see on the outside, Alabama A&M, of course, and then you have North Carolina A&T State, who over in the Big South. Let's go down to Division II, our top 5 on the men's side of the Division II. First place, Benedict behind them. West Virginia State sitting in third. What is their standings at right now, West Virginia State, Drew?
Keep talking, I'll tell you.
All right. And then you have Virginia Union and Fayetteville State, who are the 1 and 2 seeds in the CIAA men. In the hunt, you've got Morehouse right there on the verge of breaking in. You've got Winston-Salem State, Lincoln, PA. So those schools still have a shot at getting in. You're able to find it.
West Virginia State sits in third place, 1/2 game behind Charleston in their conference. Yeah, they sit 1/2 game behind, and they sit 3 games behind West Liberty.
All right, and probably about a week left to go.
3.5 games. 3.5 games. And taking a look at the schedule for the Mountain East Conference, there's they are off today. There's a slate of games on Wednesday. So West Virginia State will play Concord on Wednesday. Charleston and Glenville State will play on Wednesday. And Saturday, they have 1, 2, 3 more dates. No, 2 more dates. They finish up on Saturday.
All right. So
they
final
finish
week
up on
of
Saturday,
action.
and their conference tournament will begin on March 2nd.
Okay, so pretty much this is the last week for Division II.
Looks like the best West Virginia State can finish is second.
Right, but never know with the tournament. Anything's possible. Let's go over to the Division II women's breakdown. Our top 5 computer rankings. These are games played through Sunday. So for Division II women, do you have, while we wait on that graphic, do you have the list? With number 1, Savannah State, followed by number 2, Tuskegee, then number 3, Benedict, all in the SIC. We pretty much assume those will be the top 3 seeds going into SIC women's tournament. West Virginia State women, what's their standing like right now in the Mountain East? They are 4, and then Lincoln, PA, who Lincoln is what seed are they in the tournament again? They are the number 1 seed in the CIAA women's tournament, followed closely by Elizabeth City State, who's the 2 seed in the tournament. And Drew, did you have West Virginia State's placement right now?
They are number 4 in the conference with a 13-7 record overall. They're tied for 3, but I'm assuming they're 4 because of West Liberty with the tiebreaker, because they have West Liberty listed first. So with that being said, they are 2 games out of second place. But let's flip that. They are also 2 games ahead of 7th place.
Oh,
with
wow.
2 games to go. With 2 games to go.
Got to finish strong. Got to finish strong, because you can be anywhere from going up to going
2 to
down.
7.
Yeah, exactly. Got to finish strong. All right, let's go over to our last 2 polls, which is the NAIA level. For the men, still in first place is Talladega. Finished the regular season 25-4, 15-3. Good for second in the conference, heading into the regular conference tournament there. Paul Quinn, one of the better stories, a great story. 22-2, 11-2 in the Red River. Not eligible for postseason this year, but they stay together. That'll be an interesting story for them, paying attention to them going into the future. Xavier, with their 20th win of the year, as beating Paul Quinn. So that was a big win to get their 20th win in OT. Stillman sitting at 18-7, and then Tougaloo at 17-8, with Florida Memorial sitting right in the hunt spot at 13-14. And then for the women, our top 5 in the women is still Rust sitting at number 1, even though they suffered a loss to Philander Smith over the weekend. That was a big NAIA contest, GCAC matchup. Still wasn't enough to unseat them. But what it does, though, it may move Philander Smith into the 1 seed heading into the GCAC tournament. So I don't know if that'll matter, because you still could have Rust versus Philander Smith in the championship game for the GCAC. As clearly those are the two top teams. Talladega is in third in the Southern States Conference, 9-7 overall. Xavier over in the Red River now sitting at fourth with a nice streak going on, 14-1 in conference play. And then Florida Memorial in the Sun Conference. I believe the Sun Conference tournament is happening this week, Drew, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Are you able to check into that real quick? On the outside or in the hunt, rather, you've got Stillman
Actually,
and then followed up by Langston.
yeah. Actually, I was just checking it up. The GCAC has one game remaining on the women's side, and that's Rust at Dillard. And that game is going on as we speak right now.
Okay. And
so
thank you.
they will begin their tournament.
Yeah. Those comments that we mentioned earlier from Commissioner Sonia Stills of the MEAC, as you read them there, we are sure that A&T made the choice that is appropriate for them at this time. We are just as strong and competitive as we were before. We can still give our fans the competitive, great games that we've always given without feeling like we have to assimilate to predominantly white conferences. Youch. Whew. Well, I tell you what. Hey, look, they're not holding their breath. I mean, we've seen the president of Tennessee State. She didn't bite her lip when she made her statement. Commissioner Hills is biting her lip. Look. Who's gonna say something? You go ahead and say something to these women if you want. I'm just gonna sit back and be like, that's tough. That's tough. So, hey, it is what it is, man. Right? Any final thoughts? Anything that we left off? I know there's a lot of stuff, still a lot of meat on the bone, Drew, but we got to get out of here. So, any final thoughts?
Look, you had SWAC indoor track championship, so something that we did not get into. Just so much out there from this past weekend. You had the Grambling car in the NASCAR in the Daytona 500. Just I don't even want to keep bringing stuff up because we'll start another conversation and get our producer.
Well, you
even
can
more
give a
mad
shout out to who won.
Yeah.
You can give a shout out to who won. I mean, you didn't mention who won, so
go to the SWAC website.
Oh my goodness!
Hey, we got to let them do their own research. We tell them to go to the SWAC website, do your research, but don't forget about those who won the indoor championship. And we're not even going to be able to have an opportunity to touch softball, as softball is underway on every level now.
Right. I'm going to take a second to give a shout out to FAMU baseball for getting 2 wins over 2 teams that, unfortunately, due to the scheduling matrix of the SWAC, for some reason, East doesn't get a chance to play West during the year. West doesn't get a chance to play East. So it hopefully that'll change in the future. But Florida, 2 schools from the West, they opened the season with a 13-7 comeback win against Prairie View. And then in the 9th inning, they took a game away from Southern, also of the West, to go 2-1. They did lose in between those 2 contests to Alabama State, 9-6. But still a good weekend for Coach Shoup and the FAMU Rattlers. It's always good to see my Rattlers doing well, and shout out to MJ Randolph, your future SWAC men's basketball player of the year, who dropped 30 on Alabama State. Make sure to tune in tonight, I believe on ESPN, one of those major networks at 9 p.m. will be Alabama State taking on Bethune-Cookman basketball, and in the historic Moore Gymnasium, not an arena, gymnasium, literally gymnasium. And so that game will be on ESPNU, but shout out to Bethune for getting a chance to host that game. I know it'll be tight in there. Be interested to see if it's still cold because that place can get cold. I mean, it's brick, so it's just brick and cement. It gets cold, so it's either gonna be hot or cold.
They forgot to put the heat in there because it's in Florida.
Hey, look, who needs heat? It's Florida, they're in Daytona Beach. So that little bit of cold, you just put a jacket on.
That's like that gym in Minnesota that doesn't have air conditioning. We understand.
Yeah, just it can't get that hot and it can't get that cold that you need to put in the heat in there. So anyway, that game again is at 9:00 Eastern. Got to make sure to support any chance you get a chance to watch and support HBCU sports. We'd encourage you to do so. That's going to do it for this show. It's good kind of being back and being able to kind of talk about sports and talk about this HBCU thing. And I'll be on Wednesday with the guys, the O&G Strike Zone. So that'll be a chance to kind of talk FAMU stuff. Make sure to tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and Mike Washington as the professors will be in. Make sure to show up with your notebook or, even if you got a notepad on your phone, that'll work too. Have a pen, pencil, something to write on. Don't
do
come
like
to class.
we used to do back in the day. Just come in with a voice recorder.
Again, don't come to class unprepared. That's all I'm warning you. Anyway, that's going to do it for this show. For our producer, Roy, and AD Drew, my co-host, my name is Brian Fulford. Thanks for watching the Sports Wrap. You guys be safe and take care of yourselves out there. Peace out.
Holla.